Everyone, it's me, Yvonne Emile Elizondo from Silver Moon Astrology and Transpersonal Counseling, also known as Silver Moon Counseling. And I'm here because I'm going to give you an update on this lunar eclipse that is happening tomorrow, May 15th at 11:12 p.m. Central Standard Time. I'll double check the time, but I'm pretty sure that's it. And yeah, so a lunar eclipse is a supercharged full moon. So basically where a full moon would activate like the lunar month, an eclipse, a lunar eclipse activates like a 6-month cycle. Now, I'm just going to give you an idea of how these eclipses are happening, right? And why this is important. And it's activating a 6-month cycle for one, and then an 18th-month cycle. So essentially, eclipses happen in pairs, right? So 2 weeks ago, we had the solar eclipse in Taurus, and that was a new moon, basically. And the solar eclipse activates the Taurus part of the chart. 2 weeks later, we are going to have the lunar eclipse. And now, so the sun is still in Taurus, but now the moon is going to be in Scorpio. So this is a Scorpio activated lunar eclipse. And whoa, I'm going to talk about that. And so this ping-ponging back and forth between Taurus and Scorpio, fixed earth, Taurus, and fixed water, deep well water of Scorpio, this is an 18 to 22 month type of season, depending, because eclipses bounce back and forth in specific polarity of zodiac signs for about 18 to 22 months. And so we have these two energies that are going to be activated for us for about 18 months. Yeah, so wherever this is in your personal chart, this is the, ping-ponging back and forth of that Taurus energy and that Scorpionic tangent energy, and they're both very, very, very fixed signs. So yeah, let's take a look at this, okay? So I'm going to show you the chart, and then I'm going to just give you an idea of, what eclipses actually represent, right? Why are they so important? Okay, why do we make such a big deal about them? Okay, so here's the moon. And here's the Scorpio, okay, energy. Again, a lunar eclipse is just a full supercharged full moon. I don't want to say just, it's a supersized full moon. And so here on the opposite end, we have the sun in Taurus. Okay, that was really messy, but let me clear that up. Okay, now I'm going to show you the points, and then I'm going to explain to you why they're important. So basically, when the sun and the moon come close to these horseshoe looking thingies right here, these are the nodes of the moon. They're technical points, not going to get too much into the technical aspect of it, but these are considered the nodes of the moon. And this is important because when the sun and the moon are relatively close, okay, and I think right now they're within like 2 to 3 degrees of the north and the south node, that means that we are in eclipse season. So the south node, I'm going to start with the south node, represents the past. It represents the karmic stuff, like the baggage, okay, from the past. The north node represents the future and moving forward and what we can do to activate our purpose, moving forward. Now, the important part of this particular lunar eclipse is that the moon represents, one of the things it represents is our subconscious, okay, our emotional default response, everything that's deep down inside of us. It's the higher mind, right? It's like that depth of us. And then the south node represents all of that hidden stuff, the past stuff, the karmic stuff. And then, of course, we have the Scorpio energy that it's happening. And Scorpio represents depth psychology, for one thing. Okay, so again, this is really about deep emotional subconscious activation. Okay, so the other part of this eclipse that I feel is important is that we have this T-square. Okay, it's pulling on the sun and the moon. But then if you notice here, okay, we have these red lines, okay, they are just a little bit past degree. That's why they're dashed in my chart. But so there's like this triangle that's happening between these 3 planets, right? So the moon, the south node, and then Saturn in Aquarius, super important. And then of course the sun and the north node in Taurus. So I do want to chat a little bit about that because I think that's a significant influence on this eclipse. And then we have an out of sign opposition, okay, between the south node and the moon in Scorpio and this Mercury retrograde in Gemini. And it's out of sign because ideally a conjunction would be a complete opposite of, okay, where the sun is, but by degree, the moon is still connecting to this Mercury retrograde. So lots and lots and lots of juicy stuff that we have to talk about. Okay, woo, let's do this. So let's start with this moon and south node and really what that, could represents for me anyways, right? So it's that karmic stuff. It's the stuff from the past. And it could be just like past right now, or it could be from childhood, or it could be from previous lives if you're tapping into previous lives. But it's that karmic past, right? It's those lessons that we came here to learn. It's those lessons that life is trying to teach us, and we're just either going with the flow or we're fighting against it, right? But it's all of that karmic baggage. It's the stuff that you already mastered. And let's say, for example, in a previous life, it's all of those lessons that you already know. So you probably tap into, those aspects of you pretty easy with the south node. And for example, if the south node is in Scorpio, okay, we're probably going to be a bit more, cautious. We're going to, really dive in deep emotionally. We're going to be more suspicious maybe, or we may really be looking for all of the hidden things. We may like to research a whole bunch because that Scorpio energy, it goes deep. It's like laser deep. Okay, it's ruled by Mars. Some people say it's ruled by Pluto. I think Pluto is an influence, but it's ruled by Mars, okay, from traditional astrology. And so there's this laser pointedness that scorpionic energy taps into very easily. And so that's why they are known for reading the BS meter really quickly. They can tell when people are BSing them, okay, because they have this laser focused energy at finding the truth, okay? They will go digging and digging and digging and digging. Part of the scorpionic energy that gets them in trouble is that sometimes they go digging and digging and digging when they don't need to. And then they try to uncover stuff and it gets all sorts of messy. So the moon in the south node, the karmic stuff, right, in Scorpio, this eclipse is really going to highlight all of those things that were hidden, that we've been trying to hide, or that we've been avoiding, or that we don't intentionally know we need to tap into. And all of a sudden, boom, it's kind of like a bad pimple. That's what it is, right? You're fine one day, and then the next day, there it is right there in your face, and you can't ignore it anymore. And now you're like, well, that erupted. That is the same type of energy that we are going to be working with in this eclipse. Now, the full moon and this lunar eclipse is about releasing, okay? New moons and solar eclipses are about beginnings. This part is about releasing. So it is going to be about that scorpionic theme. And this is why having a natal chart reading is really important, because you can really pinpoint where that energy is going to manifest in your life. For example, in my chart, this energy is in the 7th house. The 7th house is about contracts and relationships and, connections, okay? It could be like kind of marriage related. I'm not getting married, but it could be, or divorced, because I'm neither. But it is about relationships, contractual relationships. And just think about marriage. I mean, it's a contract, right? And it's interesting that I just stepped away from a business working relationship, and I started my own office, Silver Moon Counseling. And so now I'm on my own. And so look at this energy. It's ending a cycle of contractual relationships. And it's the beginning, essentially, of my own stuff, right? And working with my amazing friend, Julie. And we've got all sorts of cool stuff that's coming up. And I'll tell you about that a little bit later. But so this eclipse is really going to tap into those things that are hidden, like really hidden, and karmic hidden, okay? And that means you may be experiencing some fears. You may be all of a sudden feeling very anxious, or really just starting to feel like, you need to dig into the truth, or all of a sudden you may find yourself in a situation where you're going to have to face the truth and really deal with those karmic lessons. And it's almost as if life is saying, have you learned those lessons to this point? Have you allowed yourself to grow beyond what you're familiar with, which is the South Node stuff, the baggage that you've been carrying, okay? Are you releasing that? Are you allowing yourself to move forward into that North Node, which is growth and expansion, where the sun is in Taurus? Are you allowing yourself to find grounding and find foundation, because that's Taurus energy, it's fixed earth. So you may find that this eclipse season for the next, this particular eclipse for the next 6 months is really you taking account of the karmic lessons, right? Have you moved through the fears? Have you allowed yourself to really recognize what you've learned, or what you still need to learn in order to grow and expand as not only as a being, professionally and personally, but as a spirit, as a soul, okay? You may find that these fears start to bubble up, that depth psychology all of a sudden just kind of kicks in, and now you're in this space of maybe not understanding yourself really well, or having like a spiritual awakening. This is one of the pinpoints of a spiritual awakening, is like our ego tends to break and to drop, and all of a sudden we're like, oh, holy cow, where are we? Who are we? How am I going to deal with life? And this is the type of energy that we're going to be working with for this eclipse. Now, I'm not trying to scare you by any means, but it can be really deep, because that is Scorpio energy. It's deep, it's emotional, okay? It really taps into those feelings, like deep well feelings, right? Now, I did mention that Saturn is involved in this eclipse, and this is what makes me feel like this might be something that you may find a little bit more challenging, or that may present some roadblocks, or may, it's almost as if life is going to ask you, did you learn your lesson? Because that Saturn in Aquarius is very much about wanting to move forward, but making sure you have a plan to move forward. Okay. And so there may be either responsibilities that you need to attend to, or you may need to reevaluate your responsibilities in your life, and how this may be creating a disconnection between the foundation that you want to establish versus those, emotional connections that you have. Taurus being the foundation, emotional connections being that Scorpio energy. Again, we're working on the polarity. And so this Saturn energy makes me feel like you may feel like you're not progressing, but you really are, okay? But you have to be aware of what you're doing in order for growth to happen. And I feel that that's what this eclipse is going to ask of us, is to be very aware where our roadblocks are, where our boundaries are, where we need to reestablish or reevaluate our responsibilities, or our own foundation and our approach to life. Okay, now that's a lot, right? And so let's add Mercury retrograde into the mix here. Mercury in retrograde in Gemini, all of this data, this information, okay? When the moon is opposing, even out of sign with Mercury retrograde, we may start to feel very anxious, overthinking, overanalyzing, feeling like we need a lot more information, and we start going into that research mode. And the more we go into that research mode, the more that we're like digging, the more we find ourselves in the weeds, and then we become overwhelmed. So be cautious of that, okay? Mercury retrograde is always going to ask us to redo, reevaluate, reassess, rethink. And it's almost as if it creates opportunities, challenges, okay, for us to be able to do that. And in this case, I feel it's really about the mind and all of the information, and really all of a sudden you may find that you have a bunch of information that's come to the surface, knowledge that you didn't even know was there. And that's what I feel that this eclipse is really about. So it is about releasing all of that karmic, stuff, maybe the stuff that's in your head. I keep using stuff because I like that word. Okay, but maybe it's about really paying close attention to your thoughts, paying close attention to that narrative that's going on in your head. The narrative that you have, the stories that you're telling yourself really play a huge role. They dictate our perception of our experience. And so maybe this eclipse is going to ask you to pay attention to what you are telling yourself, and it's time to release it. Okay, and that's that scorpionic energy. So part of the story that I was telling myself was, I don't think I'm ready to go out on my own again. You know, I don't think I've done it before. It was stressful, you know, being your own business owner, being your, you know, your own counseling practice. It's, you know, and the story that I was telling myself for a few years was, no, I'm not ready to do it. But this eclipse season, okay, literally opened the office the day of the new eclipse, right? The solar eclipse 2 weeks ago. And so it really is about getting rid of that narrative for me and saying, I can do this on my own. I don't need to work in contractual relationships, even though I was very grateful and it was a great experience. I need to move on and do this on my own. So anyhow, if you want to learn more about how this eclipse is going to potentially manifest in your life, come visit me. We can do a psychological natal astrology consultation. So, you know, insightful. And if you're looking for individual counseling, please come and visit me as well. I offer online mental health care, counseling, individual counseling, and we have an office that you are more than welcome to come and visit. We have crystals and really cool, peaceful artwork and just music and playing in the background. And if you're interested in Reiki or in meditation classes, Julie is the one that's going to be the go-to person for this. She's gonna kill me as soon as I just put this on her, but oh well, she'll love me afterwards, I hope. Come and see her. You can find her at ravenazul.com, ravenazul.com. And yeah, so we are really excited about all of this. And again, perfect timing with this eclipse, you know, bringing in the new 2 weeks ago and really taking into account what needs to go on this eclipse. So, all right, everyone, take care, blessed be, and have an amazing eclipse. Even if it's a little jarring, a lot of intensity, which I anticipate, we are going to be completely fine. All right, everyone, take care. Bye.